Hello, this is Marco from Marco Metals. Today I'm going to show you a coin which has doubled in value over the past 4 years. Did I just get lucky, or did the dollar just get weaker? Let's take a look. This is the coin. This is a gold maple leaf from the Royal Canadian Mint. It is 1 ounce of fine gold, 4 nines fine. For those of you who don't know, 4 nines fine means that it is pure gold. It's 24 karat. There are no other metals mixed in here. This is about as pure a piece of gold as you will find on the planet. Here on the obverse side, we can see Queen Elizabeth, and you can see that the coin was minted in 2021, which is the year that I purchased it. And it has a face value of $50. Now, you don't want to take this coin to a restaurant and buy yourself a $50 meal with it, because you'll be wasting 99% of the value of this coin. If you took this coin to a dealer today, you could probably get about $5,000 for it. So 100 times the face value on the coin. So what's going on here? Why does the coin say that it's worth $50, but I could take it to a coin dealer and I could get $5,000 for it? And this shows us that there's a huge difference between the fiat currency, which it's denominated in, which is the $50 face value, and the value of the gold that it is made out of. That brings me to something I want to talk about today, which is the difference between money and currency. So at the beginning of the video, I told you that I bought this coin 4 years ago and that I doubled my money. But it's more nuanced and complex than that, because we have to think, what is money? Is money Canadian dollars that I use to purchase the coin? Is money some other currency like US dollars? Or is money something entirely different? And it's not that clear cut. I heard one definition, which I like, which defines money as gold or silver. Gold or silver are money. And currency is something like the Canadian dollar or the US dollar or the Great British Pound, the fiat currencies that you use to purchase and sell gold. So when it comes to collecting coins, you can think of money as the number of ounces of gold that you have, the number of ounces of silver that you have, and you can define currency as the fiat currency that you're using to purchase or sell these coins. So money is something like gold or silver, which maintains its value over time or can even appreciate in value. And currency is what you're just using day to day as a medium of exchange. In my case, the Canadian dollar. So let's examine again the claim that I doubled my money in 4 years. So I purchased this coin in 2021. It was about 2,300 Canadian dollars. Today, it's worth about 5,000 Canadian dollars. That's more than twice the growth. But more important to me is looking at purchasing power. What could those dollars buy me 4 years ago? What could an ounce of gold buy me 4 years ago versus today? And when we talk about that, it gets more nuanced. Now, I'm going to give you an example of a Krugerrand, an ounce of gold from the South African Mint, which I sold in 2005. Yes, I've been collecting coins for a while. This was 20 years ago. So I remember taking an ounce of gold in the form of a Krugerrand to a dealer in 2005, and I sold it. If I recall correctly, I got about $600 for it. Maybe it was $590, something in that ballpark. I don't remember the exact figure. And at the time, I remember that the money that I got, or the currency that I got from selling the gold coin, was enough to pay my rent for 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't enough to pay rent for a full month. Now, if I had hung on to that coin, and I still had that Krugerrand today, 20 years later, I took it to a dealer, I could get about $5,000 for it. That would probably pay my rent in the same neighborhood for about 2 months. So we went from 20 years ago, an ounce of gold could pay my rent for 2 or 3 weeks, to an ounce of gold today can pay my rent for 2 months. So the purchasing power of the gold, forgetting about the currency for a second, forgetting about the Canadian dollars, just thinking about what the gold could buy you, a gold coin today could buy me a lot more than it could 20 years ago. So the purchasing power of the gold coin has increased because spot price of the gold has increased. Meanwhile, the currency, Canadian dollars, has lost a lot of value. This coin, again, we'll show it to you, it has a face value of $50 on it. Now, $50 20 years ago was worth quite a lot of money. I could probably take 50 Canadian dollars to the grocery store and I could fill up my cart and eat well for a week. Today, if I took $50 to the grocery store, I could barely fill one bag. I would probably need about 300 Canadian dollars to fill my cart. So the value, the purchasing power of the Canadian dollar has greatly declined over the past 20 years. It's not worth nearly as much as it used to be. But the value of an ounce of gold, this ounce of gold, has been increasing every year. And it's been increasing enough to buy 2 or 3 times more stuff for me than it did. Now, I want to give you a caveat. This is not always true. This depends on the time scales that you're looking at. This depends on your neighborhood. This depends on what you're buying. In my case, looking over the past 20 years, looking at the price of rent, the value of this gold coin has increased. For you, wherever you live or whatever you spend money on, for you it might be different. And there are also times when the value of gold drops and the value of silver drops. It could be that a day after I post this video, the value of gold crashes 50% and the spot price crashes 50%. It could be that the value of fiat currencies will rise tomorrow. There are no guarantees. This trend may not continue, and it's also not a smooth ride. There are years where spot price struggles, and there are years where it soars. But if we smooth out these little bumps, if we take out the noise and we just zoom back and look over decades, the trend to me is very clear. The trend is that fiat currencies are losing value over the long term. The spot price of gold and silver is rising in nominal terms, but it also seems to be rising in purchasing power. Now, why is it rising in purchasing power? An ounce of gold today is the same ounce of gold it was 20 years ago. An apartment today is the same apartment it was 20 years ago. What's going on? Why can gold suddenly buy you more stuff? I think it's because the world is getting more efficient. Products are getting cheaper to build. We're getting better at making things and building things. We're becoming more efficient. So as it gets cheaper to build things and to make things, as we become more efficient at providing services, that means that they are cheaper for us to consume. But if you're only using fiat currency, you don't notice that. You notice the opposite effect. You notice that your fiat currency is losing value, that your $50 today can't buy you nearly as much as they could a few years ago. But if you are using money, if you're using gold and silver, you can see that your purchasing power is probably remaining steady. And at least in my case, I can actually see the purchasing power go up. Again, it's not a smooth ride. Some years might behave differently, but long term, that is the trend. So today we looked at this gold coin and we talked about how it appreciated in value over time. We talked about the difference between money and currency, between the face value and the purchasing power of the gold content. So let me know in the comments, I want to hear if you have examples of how purchasing power has changed on your end, whether you've bought or sold coins over the years and noticed a difference. Drop a comment and give our channel a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.